we are tradition, their value system, and we want to impose our culture on our tribal children. That is a big challenge. We have to understand that, and we should not feel their culture is inferior, their culture, and we should not try to impose our culture on our for all. That is why NEP has evidence of this fact. Now it has been mentioned in NEP document. Local flavor will be given to the textbook. Why you are talking about local flavor? Because when I was in Delhi, I remember we received many letters from different state governments. Why you are not including our local hero, our hero, state hero in your textbook? And we are unable to do that. That is not possible. If we include all the heroes, then you can think of what will be the size of the textbook. Now we are reducing content. So that is why what NEP has recommended, local flavor will be given to the textbook, by which we can really make our curriculum inclusive. How we can do that? That means at the early stage, our children, particularly tribal children, children whose mother tongue is different, they will learn through their mother tongue. Number one, they will know about the culture, they will know about the local history, they will know about the local geography, and that will really help them to be connected to their roots. And we are talking about connecting our children to their roots. By developing one type of textbook for all, we cannot do that. Now time has come. We have to make our curriculum very flexible. We have to make our curriculum very inclusive so that we can respect their culture. We can make our textbook relevant for them. It doesn't mean we have different types of textbook. We common elements will be there because we have identified the learning outcome and the competencies. Common elements will be there, but teachers will have the flexibility to bring about the local content into integrate the local content in the text, and they can bring it into the classroom. They can transact that. By doing that, we can really help our tribal children to understand their culture. They will not be alienated from their culture. Their culture is rich like our culture. And they can learn about that culture. They can learn about the local history, local geography, local condition. But what is there? Local tradition, local value system. Everything they should learn at the early stage. So that will be a significant contribution. And that has been recommended in NEP. But how effectively we are going to implement that? That is a big challenge for us. If you see the developed countries, what they are doing, teachers have the freedom. For example, Finland, they have the autonomy, they have the freedom. Competencies are there. Curriculum framework like India, they are also developing their curriculum framework. But they have the freedom to integrate the content as per their requirement, as per their need. So by doing that, we can really include our tribal children into the education system. Now they feel it is something foreign to them, what we are teaching. And they will not feel it is foreign. They will be integrated, their culture will be integrated, they will be connected to their root. Then higher stage, they can learn other things, what is required nationally. They can learn. By doing that, we can really bring the tribal children into the mainstream. That will be a significant contribution. That is why we want the curriculum to be flexible. Even the children who are coming from the other backward culturally backward places. That means cultural. Those are we can say culturally backward. That means that we have different type of social customs and we have different type of attitude for them. And maybe because of poverty, they are influenced. That is why what has been recommended is not only the formal system that is going to make our system more inclusive. Because our children, they are doing something to help their parents to earn their livelihood. And that is why they are not able to come to school. That is why it has been recommended we should have non-formal system, non-formal education. If they are not able to come to school, then school should go to them. That means as per their timing, as per their need, as per their requirement. If we can follow the non-formal system, and we are encouraging the open system, state open university, that means state open schools, national open schools, that all these that has been recommended. But how? how it will be effective, how we are going to do that, how much fund we are devoting for that. So that is another issue that we really, if we want to bring them to the mainstream, then we have to create that facilities and we have to follow the non-formal system as per their need, as per their timing. Particular, particularly vocational education is concerned. It is not only curriculum, we are talking about the pedagogy. And vocational education, we are talking about vocational education, we look down vocational education. And the children who are coming from the low socioeconomic background, and what we are doing, we are providing them one type of education, one type of education. That is that basic thing everybody should learn. Basic competency everybody should attend. But now focus is on vocational education. Why? Because we can really help our children. We are going to be the youngest country in the world. Next decade, India is going to be the youngest country in the world. And we should take advantage of this demographic dividend. And we are not taking care of our children. We look down vocational education. We look down vocational education, but that is an integral part of our culture. That is an integral part of our tradition. That is why it has been recommended that children will come to school without school bag for some days. They will visit the locality. They will understand what is happening in the locality, what are the vocations available. They will be familiar. That is why it is going to be introduced from class 6 onwards. It is going to be an integral part of general education. And every child has to acquire mastery over at least one vocation before completion of school education. If that is mandatory, then we will not look down vocational education. Because what data says, only 5% of workforce their children joining the workforce through this vocational education in India, whereas 96% in Korea, whereas 75% in Germany, 52% in USA. That's the data that is there in NEP you might have seen. This is not something new. But we look down vocational education, we look that means we have no dignity of labor. It is not only vocational education. By introducing vocational education from class 6 onwards and by exposing our children to the local community and making them familiar with the vocation available, what we are doing? They will be exposed to different situations, they will understand their own culture and they will develop dignity of labor. The what is missing in our system. Dignity of labor is not there. And we feel this is inferior. This work is inferior. And this is superior. That feeling, that attitudinal change we have to bring about so that we can really make vocational education an integral part of education and all our children will take advantage. Children they should learn as per their interest, as per their aptitude. And that we can do. That is why curriculum is going to be very flexible in nature. Very flexible that no hard separation NEP has recommended. So that is something general. But particularly those children who are deprived, who are disadvantaged, they can take advantage of this. If we make our curriculum more flexible and bring about change in our pedagogical approach, bring about change in the process of assessment. That is the need of ours. Because what we want, it is not we are not talking about only access or Honorable Vice Chancellor also was highlighting on that. Not only access. Along with the access, they should participate. They should participate effectively, meaningfully. And along with that, they should attend the learning outcome because we have developed learning outcome in 2017. Though it was mentioned in RT Act, it was not defined. In 2017, NCERT defined learning outcome. And we conducted national achievement survey on that. And there is a wide gap between the competency, the skill, what our children are having, and the mark what they are securing in board exam. That is why in National Achievement Survey 2021, the average score of class 10 was 38, whereas in board exam our children score 90%, 100%, 95%. When it is competency based, our children are not doing well. That is why curriculum is going to be competency based. That has been recommended by NEP. Examination is going to be competency based. Once curriculum is competency based, examination is competency based, then our focus will be on development of competency. Focus will be not on content mastery, securing good mark in exam. So that is a pedagogical shift that we have to bring about. That we have to teach them. develop curriculum, and we have to implement it by bringing about change in our pedagogical approach and bringing about change in the process of assessment. So that is why our children not only come to school, they should participate in different activities because we have to strengthen the process, not the product. That is why it is mentioned. It is not important what our children learning. It is important what our children learning, but it is more important how they are learning. We say how they are learning. We are talking about the process. We are talking about the skills and how they are acquiring skills and competency, how they are participating, how they are sharing, how they are discussing, how they are exhibiting their talents, how they are performing, all these. So when we will encourage all these in our classroom process will be more vibrant because all categories of children are there in our class or will be there in our class, and we have to provide facility to all. That is another important point. Now we should take care of that. Similarly, when you are talking of assessment, it is not only the pedagogy. In pedagogical, if you see the pedagogy, what NEP has recommended, and how we are going to make it more inclusive, our system make it more inclusive. You will see, we are talking about experiential learning. Children will be exposed to variety of learning situations. Not only they will be sitting in classroom, they will be visiting the community. And how we are going to make it more inclusive. For example, NEP is talking about art integrated learning. When we say art, it is not only visual art, it includes all forms of art. It may be performing art, it may be visual art, it may be music, whatever it may be. So, when we are going to integrate this, we definitely learning will be very interesting, enjoyable, meaningful that we have experimented. Before NEP, we have conducted experiment and we found that when we introduce this art integrated learning, that means our children do not leave school. That means dropout rate decreases. That means children enjoy their learning, they don't leave school. And by doing that, what we can do? We can really not only make our learning situation more enjoyable, we can preserve our culture. Because we are talking about our culture, we have to preserve our culture. When you are talking about the tribal culture, the folk dance, the tribal dance, their culture, their music, if that is integrated into their classroom, you see what will be the feeling of our children, and they will understand their culture, and we can preserve our culture. What is going to be vanished after some years? If that is integrated into teaching learning, our system will be more inclusive, our curriculum will be more flexible, our pedagogy will be more enjoyable, and our students will enjoy learning, and that will bring about change. That is the pedagogical that I have recommended. Similarly, sports. That means it is not only cricket. Indigenous games we are talking about. And how when it will be introduced, then what will happen? That means we are bringing our indigenous games, indigenous sports to our curriculum, teaching learning through games and sports. And when that will be done, definitely children will enjoy their learning. They will be happy, and they will not feel that what we are teaching inside the classroom that is something foreign to them. So that means that is why by doing that they will be connected to their roots. And the most important thing, what I would like to highlight, that is assessment. And when we assess our students, any the process, we are not only confined to the product. We should not assess only the product. We should also assess the process. And when we are assessing, what we are doing internationally, two models are there. One is a deficit model, another is strength model. When we are talking about traditional teaching learning, it is related to deficit model. When we are talking about modern learning theory, it is something related to strength model. Practically, what we are doing in our classroom, because we all are interested to make our classroom more inclusive. What we are doing, what we are assessing, we are assessing the weakness of our students. We are assessing what they do not know, and we try to find out what they cannot do. And on the basis of that, we give our judgment. Suppose when we are conducting some test, Normally, the children who are coming from socially disadvantaged group or culturally disadvantaged group, what is happening? They are not getting the same environment what other children are getting. But NEP has recommended that every child, that means those who are disadvantaged, they should get the same facility like any other child. But when you are assessing, they are not performing well because of the environmental condition. But as teachers, we label them. And in some states are the doing, they are the good students, they are the better students, they are the best students like that. That is actually psychologically that is affecting their mental health. And when suppose a child is not performing well in mathematics, and what we say, तुम गधा हो, वो बताते हैं, हम टीचर को बताते हैं ना, तुमको मालूम नहीं है, you do not know anything. But at the same time, if we can find out what is the strength of the child, child is not doing well in mathematics, no problem. What the other thing the child can do? Maybe good in sports, maybe good in music, maybe good in social, that means interpersonal relationship. We need good leaders. So that is why we have to identify the strength instead of finding out the weakness. हम हमेशा करते हैं, कभी कोई मिलते हैं तो किसी का weakness के बारे में बात करते हैं. That pedagogy we are following in your classroom. And by doing that, when we label your doll, that means that is we are actually creating some problem for the child, and that is affecting the self-esteem of the child, self-confidence of the child. Instead of doing that, following the deficit model, if we can follow the strength model, that means what the child can do, what ability the child is having, what potential the child is having. Maybe poor, maybe having may have some learning disabilities, but in some other areas these children are good. So now time has come. We have to bring about change in our mindset. First, we have to see the strength. जो गीता में बोलते हैं कि हम we have to see the positive aspect of a man. Same pedagogy. We have to see what is the strength of our child. What is the strength our children are having? What capacity they have? What they can do? What they can contribute? Once we do that, they will feel very happy. They will develop their self-confidence and self-esteem will be there. They will now never feel inferior. Yes, I'm not good in mathematics, but I'm good in sports. That is why we are going to introduce this holistic progress card. Now we have progress card. That progress card tells about the performance of students in different school subjects. But we are going to have holistic progress card for the purpose of holistic assessment. And that holistic assessment will take care of all these. When it will be holistic, when all the domains of the personality will get their due weightage, then definitely it will bring about change in the system. And no child will feel inferior. Every child is unique. We are talking about potentiality. We know multiple intelligence. Everybody is having multiple intelligence. It's a matter of degree. So that is why we have to, from the beginning, we have to make it more flexible. That is why it has been recommended in NEP that